When I was 14 years old, I self-published a novel called Last Summer. People tend to be pretty shocked when I tell them that. They'll ask me what it's about, and I'll say friendship and mental illness. Sometimes I'll explain the entire plot to them, and they'll often ask if it's based on my own experiences. I'll usually say, the anxiety stuff, yes, but not really the plot. And then if they read it, they get concerned for my mental well-being. My mom was worried that people were going to send me to the psych ward, but I told her that this is just how everybody feels in middle school. My generation is the digital generation. We are endlessly bombarded with images of people that are doing better than us at everything all of the time. It sucks. Everybody has opinions on how you're supposed to live your life, what you need to do to be happy. We are pitted against each other constantly, everywhere we go. Straight A report cards, 5 a.m. morning routines, perfectly curated wardrobes and glass skin. And we know rationally that it's not all real, that a lot of it is put on for the camera. But it's impossible not to feel bad about yourself when that is literally all you see every single day. Even though my generation is struggling so much thanks to the internet, middle school has got to be one of the worst times in anybody's life, no matter what generation they're from. There's cliques, bullying, and puberty, the holy trinity of terrible experiences. There's a reason why most mental health conditions tend to arise during this time. Roughly half of mental illnesses will be apparent by the time you turn 14. Nearly 15% of youth have a diagnosable mental disorder, and that's only counting those who speak up about it. That is around 3 to 4 kids per middle school class. Think about that for a second. Think about how many kids that is. Usually there'd be at least one kid in your class that you could tell had issues. They'd be going to the counselor all the time and never be at school. That kid was me. When I was 13 years old, I was diagnosed with social anxiety disorder and general anxiety disorder. General anxiety basically means I'm terrified to do just about everything. Social anxiety means I'm scared of people judging or even perceiving me, really. They are not very convenient disorders to have. In the spring of 2022, I basically stopped going to school. I would either have a panic attack and refuse to go, or I'd be forced to go and need to leave halfway through the day. The panic attacks were terrifying. I would feel like I was going to die, but be too frozen to ask for help. Nobody seemed to understand what I was going through. I would get through a full day of school, maybe once or twice a week. I continued like that for about 3 months. The school didn't know what to do with me. The principal sat me down and said, "What do you want to do? Because we have no ideas." It was great. Eventually, we decided that I would do half days and go see the counselor all the time. Somehow, that worked. I finally chilled out a little bit over the summer. I went to a psychiatrist who gave me my diagnoses and some antidepressants, and I got a therapist. Things got significantly better when I returned for 8th grade. However, better doesn't always mean good. I could get through a full day of school, but I would still have a panic attack if I was in a room with more than 30 people, let alone 700. I've always been a writer. Since I was 7 years old, I knew that I was going to be an author. I've written a billion books, and they're all some of the most unhinged stories you will ever read. When I was in grade 7, I stopped writing for a little bit. I didn't really have the mental capacity to do anything other than cry. You can laugh, it's okay. In grade 8, I realized that writing was a good way for me to work out what I was going through. That's the moment in my life that changed everything. I wrote 2 books in that year. One of them was Degree Set the Gears. The other was called Last Summer. And last summer, I wrote about everything I was going through. I wrote my struggles into my characters and worked it out with them. I watched as what had been the worst part of my life slowly helped me to achieve the things I'd wanted since I was little. People often ask me, "Why do you make your books so depressing?" I write the book that I need to read. I write the books that I'd wish I'd had when I was struggling to wake up. Maybe that makes them depressing or difficult to read, but books help us make sense of the world. Last summer helped me make sense of my world, and I knew that there were people out there that needed that story as well, that 15% of youth. So I decided to publish last summer. I wanted people to read my story and know that they weren't alone. One of the best feelings ever is reading a book or listening to a song and knowing that there's someone out there who understands you. I published a book about a girl who is trying her best. Some days she can't get out of bed. She overthinks every single decision she's ever made and freaks out in public spaces. She's a normal teenager. I I self-published it for a couple reasons. The main reason was that I didn't want to wait for somebody else to want my book and think that it would sell in order for it to get published. The book industry nowadays is looking for the books that'll do the best online. They don't typically want a book about an anxious girl who is just trying to survive. It's not very marketable. So I published it on my own because it's my story, and I knew that it can mean a lot to a couple people. And it did. All sorts of people reached out to me through social media to let me know that they loved my book, that it made them cry. Somebody from Denmark told me that it was their favorite book ever. I wrote this book to help me cope with my own struggles, but in doing that, I connected with people from all around the world. Readers have left reviews saying that they saw themselves in my characters, that it helped them realize that they weren't alone. The feeling of having that many people telling me that they love my story was a bittersweet one. I was thrilled that I could make an impact on so many people's lives, but it broke my heart that there were that many people out there that have gone through the exact same thing that I have. If you haven't gone through something like that, I guarantee you know somebody who has. My novel has two purposes. One, to help those with mental illness to understand that they aren't alone. And two, to help those who don't have a mental illness to understand those of us who do. We don't want pity, all we want is for you to be there for us. Just listen. I wish I didn't have to write a story like that. I wish people just understood, but they don't. Maybe one day there'll be more awareness around mental health so kids don't have to suffer in silence. Until then, I will keep writing my stories and I hope that they help show people the truth. Thank you.